This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hey, welcome to episode 280 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
I almost said 280. I don't know why I didn't.
I mean, either one works, right?
Yeah, just a little wordier. It's good to be back. We were out last week because I was very sick, Cody.
Yeah.
I had a cold, like my first good old fashioned like cold.
Yeah.
In a few years.
Yeah. Where did those go?
I don't know. It wasn't COVID though. At least 2 tests determined that it wasn't COVID.
Yeah. So we didn't get to talk about the Marvels. Did you ever see it?
I haven't seen the Marvels yet. I have not had time. At this point, I feel like everything's been spoiled for me. That there's no real surprises left, and I'm considering for the first time ever just waiting until it hits Disney Plus.
Wow, look at you!
Because I can't imagine that it wouldn't be there in time for Christmas. What do you think?
I mean, especially with how it's performing at the box office, I would have to think this one's going to get kind of rushed through, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to like get a little bit more juice out of it by releasing it on Christmas or around it.
Yeah, because that'll be like right at the 6-week mark. What did it finish at the box office this weekend? I haven't kept up with the box office this week at all. I know that it underperformed pretty much in week 1.
Yeah, so this week, I'm pulling it up now. It's the worst MCU second week drop ever. And it finished with, let's see here. Sorry. I thought I had it in front of me, but okay, here we go. It finished with 10.2 million for the weekend, for weekend 2.
And that is in what place?
Third,
behind
Hunger Games and Trolls Band Together.
Oh goodness!
And in fact, it basically tied Thanksgiving for the week. They both are at 10.2 million. So I guess it's a difference of,
I wish I had time to see it. I've just been sick. I've really not quite come out of the sickness until today, all the way, and I just didn't have time to go see it because I would love to talk about it because this is one of my favorite things to talk about. Is just sort of this, like where this went wrong. I don't again, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't speculate. I've heard it's fine. I've heard there's not like it's a fine enough movie. Like this isn't like the Eternals or what was the Love and Thunder, which was I was not a big fan of, or even Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. But it's just it reflects zero appetite for this right now.
Yeah.
Which I find utterly fascinating because the last time we saw that was with The Flash, where everybody just said nope, collectively just nope, we're done.
Yeah. Well, in aside from maybe the Eternals, Marvel had seemed to be kind of like, we're done proof. Up until this point where I think they hadn't had the monster hits that they had before, but they were still making money and creating buzz, and just with this one, neither of those things seem to be there.
And I mentioned this to you, I think before the release, my wife and I were at Disneyland, so we spent like 3 days leading up to the release at Disneyland. That's the reason I didn't go to the screening, as we were leaving the next day. Very, very little presence of that film there, and that's where they have the Avengers campus at the park. I saw one woman, clearly I don't want to speculate. She was an older woman wearing a Marvels shirt. I feel like she may have just grabbed it off the rack somewhere and threw it on without really knowing what it was. It wasn't until after we left that they announced that there was going to be like a character meet and greet, which seems like something that should have been happening while we were there leading up to this. There's a lot of talk about actor promotion not being able to sell the movie, which I find that a little hard to swallow. I don't know how many people would have been turned on to see this movie that weren't if Brie Larson had been able to be on the Tonight Show, before the day of release, due to the strike. It's a fascinating thing to me because this was forecast as like here's the turning point. Like this is tracking poorly. No one's really that into it, and it really the numbers bore that out. And it's again, where does it go from here? What's the next step? What's the lesson to be learned?
Yeah, and that will be a conversation that unfortunately for Marvel is going to go for a while, considering that, you know, Deadpool is I believe the only movie they have on their calendar for next year as of right now. So they got to sit with it for a while.
It's not as dire circumstances as something like DC, which just has these zombie projects out there in the mix. Speaking of that, I finally saw the trailer for Aquaman Lost Kingdom, or is that what it's called? Lost Kingdom today?
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot imagine how anyone can possibly get excited for this thing that has just been completely and utterly abandoned.
Yeah. Well, especially when haven't they been hinting that Momoa was going to play Lobo, and so not even a future of him in the DC universe, but like probably staying in the not the future of Aquaman, but him as an actor staying there.
As far as I can remember with this conversation that seems to be very fluid, was that I think Zolo Maridueña and John Cena are the two that are like locks to keep playing the characters that they currently play.
Okay.
Maybe there's a third. I don't know. But like Peacemaker is going to continue.
Because Gunn has that.
And then Blue Beetle, I guess, was a big enough hit that was kind of cordoned off from everything else that it's going to keep going. I don't know. It just sits. It's neither comic book movie franchises are in very good spots right now, but certainly Marvel is sitting a little prettier than DC. Because here's this ginormous movie with a ginormous trailer that I can't imagine. Like, okay, thanks, we're done.
Yeah, DC needs to hit fast forward on this whole, regrouping with Gunn, because right now having these things like leak out that we're part of something else, but they've got them. The movies are made, so at least they're actually putting, Warner Brothers are actually putting these ones out. So,
oh, we didn't even talk about Coyote versus Acme.
Yeah, well, that's gone through a whole thing in the past week. So
yeah, it was that last week that blew up, and then this week it was able to be shopped around. Yeah, man, when being sick really fucked me up. I missed a whole bunch of shit. So
yeah,
the Marvels tanking, the Coyote versus Acme being buried and then shopped. I haven't heard anything about anybody picking it up, but I did see that Amazon is leading the pack to pick it up after they've already picked up a couple other Batman projects.
Yeah, I guess someone who's like the head of film or something like that, or head of something at Amazon, used to work at Warner Brothers, and was like a big champion of this movie in particular. So
it's mind-numbing to me that like marquee things like Batman and like the Looney Tunes aren't being released by Warner Brothers proper.
Yeah,
like that's bizarre to me.
Yeah, well, and especially like dumping off this one in particular, that they were looking like, again, for a tax write-off, as opposed to like I think it was also modestly budgeted, where I think it would not have been all that hard for them to make their
it was like
money
a $70
back.
million. It was a $70 million movie, and it was going to be like a $30 million tax write-off, which
right.
I mean, Hollywood accounting has been suspect for decades and decades. It's a very crooked practice. I think there's something like no movie has technically ever made money if you look at the accounting. But anyway, it's a sad state that Warner Brothers is in currently right now, because I mean, there's a bunch of classic shit from there that is just getting mistreated and abused by the current regime. But happy 100 years, Warner Brothers.
That'll
we'll
come
talk
up
a little
again
bit
later, won't it?
Yes, it will. Anything else before we move on, Cody?
No, let's get to it.
All right, let's go ahead and get started on reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
What's up? We have Thanksgiving.
I used to love this town. Until what happened that night. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I'm tired of pretending like everything is normal and it's not.
I want things to go back to normal too.
Show some enthusiasm. Thanksgiving is an institution here.
Someone's out for revenge, and they're turning it into a sick holiday game.
This is weird. We're all tagged, and our names are at the table. But why us?
The longer this goes, the more twisted it gets. Every weapon he's using is straight off a Thanksgiving table.
I don't want to spend my life looking over my shoulder. We need to stop him.
This is a film from director Eli Roth, based on a trailer that was part of the Grindhouse film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you call that, like experience, duopoly of films from 2007. I never actually saw Grindhouse.
Oh.
I'm not a big fan of that genre, but I think this is the third film.
It's the fourth.
It's the fourth. So it was
Yeah.
Machete, Hobo with a Shotgun.
And Machete Kills, the sequel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that counted, but okay.
Yeah, of course
Yeah.
it counts.
I guess so. I was thinking like of the ones that were actually like yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. So this is the third film from that that's actually become a real film. Cody, tell us about Thanksgiving, what you thought of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, I think you know, as you mentioned, you know, this is coming from a group of fake trailers. So basically, you know, Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez had a bunch of filmmakers make fake trailers. So, you know, you have the Thanksgiving trailer was made by Eli Roth, and like one of my favorites from that was the Edgar Wright Don't trailer, if you've seen that one.
I haven't. I did watch I did watch the Thanksgiving trailer today before the show, but I never was into the Grindhouse stuff, so it never crossed my path.
Yeah, definitely watch the Edgar Wright one because it's got a great like a Will Arnett voiceover. It's a really short one, but yeah, and you know, again, it was you know, the fake trailer was just, you know, again, a completely over the top, you know, no real plot to it, just, you know, showing a good way to show off some kills, and you do get this, the version of like the trampoline kill is a little bit I guess we would call it tamer in this one, in a sense of like
it's a little less exploitative.
Yeah. And so while you know, it doesn't go to like the nth degree on that kind of thing, you know, the movie does, you know, turn up the gore quite a bit in this movie. It's very much a, you know, a traditional kind of slasher movie, but it's kind of like, you know, dripping with self-awareness in terms of, you know, having it be, you know, ridiculous and silly. You know, the storyline is just, you know, I actually do appreciate the sort of like idea behind how the story kind of kicks off, which is basically like a massacre at Black Friday shopping, that leads to a bunch of people dying, and then years later, someone comes back and starts targeting, you know, at least one person. You can understand the targeting. The others are kind of sort of like, you know, guilt by association a little bit, but you know, kind of targeting the family of the company that the massacre was at, and then and just basically kind of goes on a killing spree surrounding that. So, you know, the thing about it that I found interesting was that it starts off with sort of like really like kind of like generic dialogue where like all of these characters are like really stupid and and kind of like, you know, dumb, horror movie surface level, type characterizations. And as the movie goes on, I think you get a little bit more like actual acting, because the beginning act of the movie is like really kind of over the top stuff. And it kind of plays into this idea of like, for me at least, I was kind of it took me until like maybe midway through the movie to kind of like fully confirm that like, oh, okay, this is intentional. Like this is, trying to be, ridiculous and over the top and silly and goofy and corny and cheesy and all that stuff. And I think the thing about it that makes it confusing, or made it confusing for me, is that this is not done in the Grindhouse style.
Right.
And I think, I don't know if this is a criticism per se or if it's a fair criticism, but I kind of wish this movie was done in Grindhouse style. Now, you kind of can't, because, the movie involves like a plot line about Black Friday shopping, and it's got a lot of technology stuff that happens throughout the movie. And so I get why it's set in present day, but I feel like I wish that it kind of had that sort of like 70s Grindhouse feel. It's really polished and slick looking, and I prefer the sort of like, in the Grindhouse movies and stuff, the fake film look and, the sort of distressed looking stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that the sort of like ridiculousness of it all hits a little bit harder when the stylist, like the visual style, kind of matches. Instead, what you get is kind of like a Grindhouse kind of take on like a modern movie, or a modern movie look of a Grindhouse take or whatever.
I mean, it's essentially a Scream clone.
Right. And I think that I kind of wonder again if this movie had kind of stuck with that 70s style, if it would have set itself apart a little bit more, because I do think it sometimes becomes a victim of its own sort of glossiness when it comes to like what it's trying to accomplish and where it comes from and what its roots are. Because you can the sort of like Scream slasher genre can be like a dime a dozen. Now, where this thing sets apart again, I think, are creative and fun kills. I mean, I think there's a lot of fun and funny stuff as far as that's concerned. You get some classic Thanksgiving style. You see the corn cob holders, which I think is a good thing. There's definitely a turkey reveal that happens that's pretty great. And I have to say, I did have fun with it. I mean, I think, you have to, go in knowing to not take it too seriously, because it doesn't take itself seriously. It's not going to be this sort of like genre defying thing. And in many ways, a Scream clone, yes, but it's also not sort of like a takedown of the genre in that sense. I kind of feel like it may be like paying tribute to certain maybe styles, but I don't think it has anything particular to say.
Now that would be to me, that's when I say that, I mean like the modern Scream, where where the like commentary on stuff is just sort of surface level. Mm-hmm. I'm not talking like the original Scream. I mean like something that just popped out.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. That is apt. So again, for me, it doesn't redefine anything. It's not any sort of high level kind of thing. But is it a fun slasher movie that's better than most slasher movies? It is, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that mostly. It's if you're just looking for a straight slasher film that really does kind of follow this comfortable formula, and I mean that to a point like where you can maybe start to kind of put things together from elements of casting. If you've paid attention to the way these horror movies have been kind of played out in the last few years, like you might be able to kind of see where this is going from the beginning. That said, I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's great. I don't think it reinvents the wheel or anything, and I don't think it's trying to. I don't know that I would have preferred the Grindhouse style. I feel like that thing wears a little thin. Even watching that 2-minute trailer, I felt like I was sitting in an Alamo Draft House waiting for a pre-show to start and just waiting to get to the real movie. I don't know that it would have, felt it as fresh as it would have. I mean, there are experimentation things to be done. I'm for sure in horror films. I think this is about as straightforward as you can get. I think with a horror film these days, and I think it works mostly. I think there's some really fun kills. I think it gets a little more grisly than I was prepared for in the third act. I didn't mind. I'm not balking at it or anything. It just was like, oh shit, this thing got really gory in real quick fashion. I kind of wish that it was a little bit more. I mean, it has like the Black Friday thing to say, which I think it says a little bit. I think the rest of it's just kind of pretty dumb. And I assume that's on purpose. I'm not looking for everything to be some sort of Scream commentary on, what the horror genre means and reboots and all this other bullshit. But I think it starts out pretty strong, and then there's one very surprising element that really took me out of the killer's motivation. There's a picture on a wall that I don't know if you like some sort of I'm not going to spoil it for anything, but anyway, there's a goofiness there that I think is implied that I appreciated, but for the most part, I think it works really well. I don't think it's great by any means, but I think it is really well done, and I think it's it's got some good Thanksgiving themed kills. That's really all I'm looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't deliver on the promise of being like a Thanksgiving related horror movie that is also has its sort of like genesis from a Grindhouse trailer. And I
don't think you would, if you didn't know this was a Grindhouse thing, you wouldn't. There's no like roots to it. It's not like the Machete movies where it's like firmly rooted in that Grindhouse culture.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's your grade for Thanksgiving, Cody?
Yeah, it's a B- for me. Again, I've seen way worse slasher movies, and again, it delivers on the kills. It delivers on the Thanksgiving related kills. It delivers on the stupid lines related to Thanksgiving kills. So it's a perfectly watchable and decent horror movie.
Yeah, B- for me too. I think I agree with you on all accounts. It's well done. It's not great, but it delivers on what it promises. So let's move on to our next movie. Please don't destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain.
What the hell were you doing? You're 3 hours late.
Dad, you don't understand. The car was busted, so we had to shred.
Why are your lips red? Were you eating a snow cone?
That's a really good guess.
What kind of adults rollerblade?
The police are here, and they're saying that you bought alcohol for minors.
Thanks, boys!
In Europe, the drinking age is like 10.
They could have been European.
What made you think they were European?
They had a certain je ne sais quoi.
I think one of them was eating pain au chocolat.
Guys, everyone thinks we're losers, but that's about to change. I know where the Treasure of Foggy Mountain is.
From when we were kids?
We are looking at $100 million.
$100 million?
It'd be like, I mean, I know it's more than this, but at least $1 million each.
Significantly more.
What are we waiting for?
The cute guys that came in earlier.
I didn't see nobody cute. The ginger looked like a colonial ghost. Glasses looked like Tim Burton drew him. And then the short one, we probably were the same size bra.
They had a treasure map with like an X on it.
We gonna steal that map.
That is a full-on hawk.
Hey, buddy.
Reverse the rock!
Does it not know it can fly?
Why did it walk away with an attitude?
This is a film from comedy troupe Please Don't Destroy, who are best known as part of the writing staff for SNL. They do short films for Saturday Night Live most weeks. I don't know if they did one this past week. I haven't watched, but this is a film that went straight to Peacock. Was it supposed to go to theaters?
I'm looking that up right now. I don't necessarily. Oh, yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah. By the way, these guys are all so fucking young. It blows my mind how.
Yeah.
And maybe a little bit of nepo babies, but
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well-
tell us about. Go ahead. Sorry, don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, well, just to introduce, like, for anyone who wasn't familiar, it's, Please Don't Destroy is a comedy trio of Ben Marshall, John Higgins, and Martin Herlihy. And two of the three, you mentioned Nepo babies, were, John Higgins is the son of Steve Higgins, who I guess at this point is maybe more, like, well known for working with Jimmy Fallon, but was a SNL writer. And then Martin Herlihy is Tim Herlihy's son, who has been working with Adam Sandler forever and also on SNL. And so it's been kind of crazy to watch the last couple of years. So I don't know if they were on your radar prior to SNL.
No, not at all.
Okay, so I was actually a fan of them. So basically they released videos of like really short content, like 1 to 2 minutes long on Twitter. And I guess they also posted a TikTok. I saw them on Twitter, and they're like really, really funny, internet videos. And so when they got hired at SNL, I was like well aware of them and like fans of theirs. And so I thought it was an exciting thing. And like in the span, it just to think about it, like in the span of like 2 years, they've gone from like Twitter videos to SNL writers to now having like a feature length movie produced by Judd Apatow on Peacock. So like, it's a quick ascension for them.
Sure.
And,
and they are very funny.
Yeah. And so deservedly so. And so, they have proven themselves to be, I think, really, really funny in short form, videos that are like less than 3 minutes for the most part on all of this stuff.
Basically.
And they come from sketch comedy too, which is all, pretty much, the same length stuff. And so, the big question is, how does it translate to a full length 90-minute movie? And I think the answer to that is like mixed results, but like encouraging. The movie itself is sort of like really thinly plotted in that, it's the three of them, essentially, long time friends, who end up like on basically like a treasure hunt to find treasure that they found or knew about since they were kids or whatever. And then a lot of what happens in terms of like the comedy happens in like small interactions, little side deviances from the sort of story and non sequiturs and stuff like that. And in terms of just like pure laughs, I was laughing out loud a lot in the movie. I do think that it's really funny. You get a lot of fun interactions between them and Conan O'Brien, who is acting in this movie, I guess you could say. He is playing a character, but they're not trying to necessarily hide him at all. The interactions between the three of them, they all have kind of like interesting character notes that I think you mine a lot of comedy from them. There's a lot of like offhanded remarks and like little things that are funny. I told you the other day I've been thinking about something and it's been making me laugh for 2 weeks, and it was there's a story that happens involving a magician that I thought was extremely funny. And then there's also a funny, really small moment where like in the middle of a fight, Conan disappears into an office.
Oh yeah.
And then you hear the Office theme song playing and Conan laughing behind the door in the middle of a fight. It's like an epic battle, and he retreats to watch The Office. Those were two moments for me. But the thing about it that you may not be surprised to know is that by like 30 minutes into the movie, it starts running out of steam in terms of its plot, for sure. And it sort of hinges on having the sort of humor between these characters carry it. There's some stuff in like the second part of the movie that I don't think works as well. I don't know that the cult stuff works all that well for me. It's fine. There's also a side plot of like Martin having this like deep hidden like alter ego that I don't necessarily know pays off either. So there's some funny stuff with it. But all that considered, like if I'm judging a comedy by how much I laugh during it, I can definitely say it's really successful in making me laugh. There's also I don't know if you found the cameo towards the end funny, but I found it very funny.
Of the
buyer,
like, yes, yeah. It's funny. I think it's it's. I don't think all the long-term jokes pay off. I'll get into that later, but that one was one that I felt was pretty well done.
Yeah, for sure. And so for me, you know, the idea is like a lot of promise and potential here. I mean, I think they've got some work to do to kind of unlock making a full feature-length thing that is sort of like, you know, doesn't run out of steam or isn't just kind of like, you know, one plot with like a bunch of different like, you know, paths of comedy to go down. But that being said, for like a bunch of guys in their like mid-20s or, you know, mid to late 20s, at their first shot at something full length, I think it's pretty okay.
Yeah, you know, I think you talked about the idea that it runs out of steam, and I know we talked about this when the movie was announced, and I likened it to something like Popstar, which I think has a decent setup, and then really does run out of gas at like 45 minutes when the plot has to kick in. It really just kind of falls apart. I think for the most part, this kind of avoids that. I just think that it's, but that's probably more of an idea of it being a little more thinly plotted than something like that, because something like Popstar has to front load like the whole kind of parody aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't really do that. It just establishes these guys are friends and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it avoids that pitfall by being sort of sparse all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do think it's funny. There are some moments all the way through it that are funny. I don't think there's anything that's really like super hilarious. Like there's nothing that's really blowing me away. Like it's not like we laughed all the way through. We watched it last night and laughed all the way through it at things. You know, I'm a huge Conan O'Brien fan and I'll watch him do anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's funny in an over the top, like terrible performance. Like there's no like pretension here that he's acting. He's
right.
I mean, it's Conan O'Brien yelling is basically the role. You know, I wish there was you know, some stuff that hit a little harder. I think there's some running gags that don't quite pay off the whole way through. You know, I think that the cameo you mentioned, I think is funny. I don't think it hits as hard as it probably could have. And then the idea that is it Martin's character? I don't know their names that well. Martin is the one that has the alter ego, right?
It has Lawrence,
the alter ego,
which is a funny joke.
Which is it's a funny joke, and I guess it's supposed to be. Is it a little bit They Live in there, or is it just sort of an amalgam of stuff? Like he talks like Rowdy Roddy Piper a little bit in They Live, but
it might be a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's some funny physical gags with that. I think it's fine. Ultimately, it's fine. It doesn't like I couldn't imagine watching this in a theater. I think it's perfectly at home streaming. I think you know, it's about an hour and a half, which isn't too terribly long. I don't think it suffers the same fate as something like Popstar, or even like going back to something like Pootie Tang, where it just runs out of gas and you're left with another 45 minutes of plot mechanics to deal with. So I think ultimately it's successful enough. But you know, I am curious, like what these guys have left in the tank. Like, would they make another movie like this, where they're essentially playing these heightened versions of themselves? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a great question, and one that I had too, which is like, you know, outside of, because even in their SNL stuff, they're basically just playing themselves. They're kind of just like hanging out in their writer's room and doing, you know,
well,
it's
that, but then there's like a surreal element to it,
right?
So like,
yeah, but like the point being like characterization is not necessarily like their strong suit at this point in their careers, and I think if they're going to step outside of that, you got to find a way around that, because I don't think that you can again have a bunch of different movies where they're playing versions of themselves. I mean, even when you start looking at what Lonely Island has done, you know, at least they are shaking it up every single time they do something and doing something a little bit different. So, but I mean, like I said, you know, we're talking about like the first shot for these guys who are super young and having a lot of
25 years old.
Yeah,
Martin
I was just
Hurley, like
yeah,
it's
Martin
crazy how
Hurley's the
young
youngest
these
of the
people.
yeah. So you know, for looking at it through the lens of like this is the first try at something like this, I think it is successful. Again, I don't. Again, I was laughing throughout, so it's hard for me to judge the comedy as anything other than successful for me. Even if it's not like laugh out loud, or excuse me, like busting up funny, like you said, or if it's not like, you know, it doesn't have like outrageous moments that really kind of like jump off the page or anything like that. But funny throughout.
I guess the biggest thing is like, is there enough to sustain this long form stuff?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question.
And I don't know. I mean, because it really does sort of like there are some long-term jokes in there, like long payoff jokes. I don't know that they work as well as the little self-contained things along the way, which you know speaks to their kind of, I assume, their experience doing shorter form stuff. I mean, it's wild to get the breaks that they've gotten and the opportunity they've gotten at this point. You know, this is 2 years into being on SNL. And they've got this film. Granted, it's a streaming film on Peacock, but still, I mean, that's not nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, what's your grade for Please Don't Destroy the Treasure of Foggy Mountain, Cody?
So I am going to give it a B-. I do think that if you like their stuff or if you've seen one of their videos, it's worth watching because I do think that the humor does translate into the long format. It's the long format. It's like everything else about it that I don't know is quite there yet, but I think it's an encouraging first step, and I think it is worth watching as like a quick, like breezy comedy.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B- too. I think it worked well enough for me. I don't think it's great by any means, but it did have that element that kept me around. I like these guys. I've liked them on SNL, and I like what they've put out. And again, throw me Conan O'Brien acting an asshole throughout the middle, and then like I like Bowen Yang a lot.
Mm-hmm. Meg Stalter is really funny in this too.
Oh yeah. And then you get yeah. Anyway, B- for me. It's streaming right now on Peacock, so if you want to watch it at home, go ahead and watch it. So let's wrap things up here this week, Cody, with a little bit of a gift guide. Oh. And we've talked about this before, but we've got some great new titles from Warner Brothers. Again, we talked about Warner Brothers a little bit before, and I dropped this disc. Hold on, let me pick it up. Sorry, it's so unprofessional. Warner Brothers celebrating their 100th anniversary this year with some new 4Ks, and I know you've got some copies of these too, so we can talk a little about this. First up, we have East of Eden. I don't know if you've ever seen East of Eden. I'm going to try to show this here. I haven't either. This is James Dean's first film, first time on 4K. It's based on a Steinbeck film. James Dean made 3 movies and became a legend. This was the first one. Obviously, Rebel Without a Cause is the huge one that everyone remembers him for, and he became sort of legendary for. But East of Eden is the first film. It's available now for the first time on 4K. I really need to get a 4K player, Cody, because I need to enjoy these. I have the digital codes, which I can watch in 4K. Next up is Cool Hand Luke. Have you seen this movie? This is a classic prison movie.
I have not. I have not seen that one.
I remember my dad watching it quite a bit. I remember him watching it. This is back when they would show films on TV, and like it was too, like the widescreen would if they did like the pan and scan and would cut it off, they would make it anamorphic. And I vividly remember watching the movie with him on TV and like seeing everything squished at the beginning so they could get all the credits in there.
Yeah.
Speaking of other prison-ish movies, The Fugitive. Now you have to have seen The Fugitive, Cody. First time on 4K.
I've seen it. I like chopped up on cable when I was much younger. I've never like as a fully formed adult watched it.
I feel like this movie got sort of forgotten in the mix of Harrison Ford movies from the 90s, because he did a bunch of dad movies in the 90s, like Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah.
Patriot Games, Air Force One.
Yeah.
This is another one. Tommy Lee Jones.
Did he not? He won an Oscar for that movie, did he?
He won the Oscar for this movie, playing the U.S. Marshal Sam Gerard, which they made a sequel to this movie. Did you know that, called U.S. Marshals? Where he was chasing Wesley Snipes and like Robert Downey Jr.'s in it.
That movie I have for sure seen.
You saw U.S. Marshals, but you haven't seen The Fugitive.
Again, when I was younger, I know for sure that I watched U.S. Marshals.
I can remember. The Fugitive is great, by the way. It's really, really good. I can remember. I don't think I've actually seen U.S. Marshals, but I remember renting the shit out of it to people when I worked at Albertsons in the video department. It was one of those ones we had like 10 copies of.
Yeah.
And people would just rent it all the time. Now we're getting into the holiday season, Cody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means? It's time for Elf.
The 20th anniversary this year.
20th anniversary of Elf. That blows my mind.
It's crazy.
This is the 4K Ultra HD release of Elf. First time on 4K, I believe. Features commentary by Will Ferrell and Jon Favreau. That's something I feel like I watched on the DVD when it was released years ago. But there's also one of the cool things on here that I really want to check out. It's a like a pop-up thing on how the effects were made.
Oh, that's cool.
Because this, I don't even remember, the beginning of the film has a bunch of stop motion animation.
Yeah.
The puffin.
It also has like the forced perspective stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this one of the holiday classics in your family, Cody?
It is. Yeah, it is. You know, I was let's see. I'm going to age myself here.
Well, it's 20 years ago, so the math should be pretty easy.
I was 14 when it came out.
Okay,
and
so I was 25.
Yeah. But I remember seeing it in theaters, and it's, you know, something that was definitely on around the holidays and like the family setting, and and yeah, I mean, a lot of good memories of that one, and that, you know, I think at least for maybe I'm like on the high older end of the generation, but definitely like the Christmas movie for a certain generation for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that's really kind of taken off in the last, I would say, like 5 to 10 years, maybe, like where it really solidified as a Christmas classic.
Yeah,
like that one and Christmas Vacation are the two like most recent ones that really like calcified. Anyway, I think Elf is great, but I think like everybody forgets, like everybody only knows it up to like the second half, and then they just kind of forget that it becomes this like almost weird adventure movie for a little bit.
Yeah.
Really great movie. I really like James Caan in the movie.
James Caan's great in it. Yeah.
Excuse me. And then we got a couple more modern movies here. First up is Blue Beetle, who we talked about a little bit earlier. Movie that we both found pretty decent, I think. Didn't love it, but
yeah, I think you were a little higher on it than I was, but it was fine.
Yeah. This has, of course, a digital code, and Blue Beetle's it's something called Nana Knows Best. So if you remember the movie, his mother was sort of his grandmother was some sort of Mexican revolutionary. Anyway, that's out now. And then the biggest film of the year, Barbie.
Yes.
Finally on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it since it was released. I'm curious to see how much I like it watching it at home.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw it a few times in theaters, so...
oh, you did?
Yeah. I think I saw it 3 times.
How did you end up seeing it 3 times?
Going with different people. I went once on my own, and then for a second time, and then once with someone else who hadn't seen it before.
So did it hold up each time?
It did, yeah. I mean, I think it's really great. I think that, you know, I don't know where it's going to shake out on the top 10. I mean, I think it'll be in there. I feel like pretty firmly that it'll be in there. But yeah, no, I think I think Gosling gives like one of the best performances of the year in that movie.
Yeah. So these all these films are available now, except for The Fugitive. That's coming out actually on Tuesday. So if you're looking for gifts for the holidays, we still have a shit ton of physical media. I think you do too.
I do.
Yeah. If anything, I love getting the physical media just because of the digital code that comes with it, because I love having that digital code.
Yeah.
And you know, let's not pretend that that these movies are going to be around forever on streaming whenever you want to access them, because we know how that's been going the last couple of years. So
yeah, and and oh, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, we know look. Owning a movie is
the irony.
We understand the irony. Owning a movie. I mean, look, no one's taking this away from me.
Right.
From my cold dead hands, you can have my Barbie.
That's what. Did you see the Christopher Nolan said that they were putting a bunch of effort into the Oppenheimer release for that very reason?
So no evil streaming service can take your movie.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm not even talking about look, rights come and go. I know that. And it does suck to want to watch something and it's not on a streaming service. You can always rent it and whatever, but having it physically there is one of those things that I'm never going to get tired of. I mean, we have 2 giant racks that we bought from a defunct DVD store to store our movies. So we're in it for the long haul. All right, cool. So yeah, again, if you're looking for gifts, those are some great gifts that are out now. Fugitive actually comes out on Tuesday. I need to rewatch The Fugitive, and I think maybe you do too, Cody.
Yeah,
since you've seen U.S. Marshals 1,000 times.
I think I saw it once when I was 10. But okay.
All right. Anything else? Well, actually, that's going to do it for this week. Next week, Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
I know we have Disney's Wish.
Disney's Wish. We also have Ridley Scott's Napoleon comes out on Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
As well as the wide expansion of a movie that I loved from Fantastic Fest called Saltburn. It also opens wide on Tuesday.
Man, I got a lot of stuff to see this week. All right. If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Find us on youtube.com/cinesnob, facebook.com/cinesnobnet. Something else I forget. Whatever. I said a lot of words. Anything else before we go, Cody?
Nope, that's it.
All right. On that note, I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Viafania.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.